Chapter 491, Strong Enemies. Brothers, forward, Ocean ahead shouted and led the charge. This clearly wasn't an action an elementalist should be doing. Elementalists might have powerful spells, but they usually hid behind others for protection. Slow down, Lulan hastily caught up to him and used his body to force him back. Yi Chu told them to be careful because their opponents were strong. Ocean ahead not only didn't listen to the warning, but he became even more excited. Lulan understood his personality well, so despite being upset, he couldn't do anything about it. Let them come to us. We'll wait here and save our stamina, Yi Shu laughed. Little Bei, Night Tide, Lulan called out. These two characters stepped forward. All three of them were melee classes, so they usually fought up front. Ocean ahead could only move backwards obediently. The staff in his hand never stopped waving around though. Yi Shu watched all of this and knew that he was impatiently waiting, ready to attack at any time. Yi Shu chuckled. Even though he was playing the role of a gunner on this team with long-ranged attacks, seeing how excited Ocean ahead was, he decided to let him make the first move. Yi Shu feared that if he made the first move, Ocean ahead would recklessly waste skills or charge forward. Heavenly Lightning. Little Bei, jump, Yi Shu suddenly yelled. They're coming, Ocean ahead shouted as he lifted up his staff. If a noob saw this, the noob might think that it was too early to cast a spell. However, Ocean ahead was a great expert and knew that when Yi Shu made this command, he had considered the enemy's movement speed as well as his cast time. Casting the spell at this moment was perfect. Jump, Little Bei hesitated, but he still jumped without wasting any time. To block his staff, Yi Shu smiled. Minnesota. Little Bei thought it would be for this reason. He was positioned right in front of Ocean ahead. When an elementalist casted a spell, the staff would point towards a certain location, indicating where the spell would land. An experienced opponent could determine the spell's target by observing the staff's movement. Yi Shu had Little Bei jump up in order to block the enemy's view of the staff, stopping them from figuring out the spell's target. He might be able to block the enemy's view of the elementalist too, so they wouldn't even know that the elementalist was casting a spell. Bang! Thunder boomed from the skies and gray clouds billowed forth as lightning flashed down. The ground below glowed red and it seemed as if the land had turned transparent. Bang! 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 The red earth cracked open and flames rushed out. Level 70 Elementalist Skill, Heavenly Thunder Earth and Fire, a damaging attack with both lightning and fire properties. Lines of lightning and fire intertwined with each other like a network along the street. The scene looked like the coming of an apocalypse. If the people inside didn't die, then it wouldn't match the fiery visual effects. Yi Shu didn't give out any orders as he watched the area in which the skill targeted. The figures inside the crackling fire and lightning were difficult to see. However, they were still moving forward at high speeds. They're looking to die, Ocean ahead was astonished. Heavenly Thunder Earth and Fire was a persistent effect skill. Lightning and fire erupted randomly within the skill's area of effect. Each bolt of lightning or flare of fire dealt damage. If a player stood still inside the area and didn't move, he might take less damage than moving about. Experienced players would usually stand still and wait for the spell to end. However, the enemies were unexpectedly charging through it. Ocean ahead was naturally surprised at their actions. In the blink of an eye, a figure broke through the circle of fire and lightning. This person didn't have any burn marks on him. Ocean ahead stared with his mouth wide open. Similar to how there would be blood if a character was hit by a blade or bullet, spells also had some sort of visual indication if a character had been struck by one, but this person had absolutely no marks on him, which meant he hadn't been hit by any of the lightning or fire. How is that possible? Ocean ahead gaped. This enemy had clearly been inside the Heavenly Lightning Earth and Fire and battle mages didn't have any instant movement skills. At best, battle mages had the movement speed buff from neutral chasers. The battle mage in front of them had a full set of equipment. White, red, yellow, blue, and purple magic undulations circled around his feet, arms, hands, spear tip, and spear handle. These magic undulations were 5 types of chasers buffing his character. He was the first person to break through the Heavenly Lightning Earth and Fire and his battle spirit wasn't any weaker than Ocean ahead's. For Heavenly Lightning Earthen Blaze, you need to be able to practice until you can manually control it. Yishu wasn't surprised by the battle mage like everyone else had been. Instead, he took this opportunity to give Ocean Ahead a lesson. Ocean Ahead stared blankly. After casting the spell, the targeting for the lightning and fire could be manually controlled. However, the skill was strong enough already with just the system's automatic targeting, so oftentimes, elementalists would use this chance to send out other spells for extra poke damage. Ocean Ahead also felt like this made sense, and it didn't seem like very many players in the pro scene controlled it manually either. In this short amount of time, the battle mage had already closed in. A battle mage with neutral chasers had astonishingly high movement speed. Lulon / Little Bei, and Night Tide jumped forward to intercept him. Lulon / swung his sword, using Colliding Stab to see if he could knock the enemy battle mage back into the Heavenly Lightning. Such a simple move would never hit an expert under normal circumstances. However, Lulon / wasn't alone. To the left, Little Bei's battle mage threw out a Falling Flower Palm. To the right, Night Tide's grappler slammed the ground to create a seismic shockwave. The combined attacks of the three covered a huge range. The enemy battle mage didn't move away and met Lulon /'s colliding stab head-on. Just before the attack was about to hit, the enemy battle mage suddenly jumped. This jump allowed the enemy to dodge the shock wave, but colliding stab was a flexible move. As soon as Lulon / saw the enemy leap up, he swung his mouse and his sword point swung upwards towards the battle mage. "Roll back," Yishu shouted. "What?" The three up front felt unsure who he was talking to. Could he be talking about me? After all, Lulon / was the person directly facing the opponent, so he reckoned Yichu was warning him. He didn't have any doubts about Yichu, so he hastily rolled backwards, but because of this slight moment of hesitation, he had done it slightly too slow. The enemy's spear stabbed forward like a viper. Even though Lulon /'s sword point had swung upwards, it had missed the enemy by just a tiny bit. The enemy's spear had a longer range, so the spear stabbed straight through his body. Like a gale, the spear tossed him up into the air and then slammed him back into the ground in a circular arc. Circle Swing was a move that forcefully knocked the target onto the ground and couldn't be touched out of with a quick recover. When Lulon / crashed into the ground, the enemy battle mage also landed. He retracted his spear and stepped forward. Then, he suddenly turned around and stabbed twice. Two cold lights flew to his left and right. F***ck, Little Bei gaped. He was a battle mage too and could tell this move was the low-level skill double stab. However, this enemy battle mage had actually been able to split the two stabs, one for each person. This required extremely high mechanical skill to achieve, especially since Little Bei and Night Tide weren't next to each other. Little Bei had never imagined double stab could be mastered to such a level. Pooh. The attack had been too sudden. Neither of them had been able to react in time. Double stab had a small knockback effect. The attack had been split into two, so the effects were halved, but the two were both pushed back half a body's length. The enemy battle mage had already turned around, so he was facing forward. He no longer had his four allies nearby to cover for him. His battle mage pushed his palms out with a falling flower palm. Deception reacted quickly and shot towards him. His body turned around in midair and kicked out using bird fall. This skill was very fast. The direction of the attack could be controlled by the user. When Deception used this on other players, it always connected. Bang! Falling flower palm shot out. At the same time, Deception stepped on the enemy battle mage's shoulder. His bird fall had hit the opponent, but it hadn't been able to interrupt the falling flower palm. Fortunately, the bird fall had been able to delay the palm, giving Ocean Ahead enough time to jump back and dodge the attack. Deception was about to slide down the battle mage's back after stepping on his shoulder. At the same time, he flung the rope on his ninjutsu out in preparation to activate a body bind technique. Dodge! Deception heard Lord Grimm shout, but was puzzled by the warning. Suddenly, the tip of a spear flashed and his body was launched into the air. Following afterwards, a flurry of magic chasers barraged him. Boom 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 boom. Magic chasers continued to chain into each other as Deception tumbled higher and higher into the air. At this moment, lightning and fire crossed over each other in front again. The enemy's elementalist had also cast a heavenly lightning earth and fire, Lulon / Little Bei, and Nighttide were instantly enveloped by the spell. Several figures broke through Ocean Ahead's heavenly lightning earth and fire and entered their own. The lightning and fire made everything a blur. The thunder's booms covered up the sounds of attacks. Soon afterwards, 3 figures flew out from the storm. Lulon / Little Bei, and Nighttide had been pushed out from the spell. Lulon / and Nighttide crouched on the ground after using a quick recover. Little Bei fell face first into the dirt and slid to Lord Grimm's feet. The opponents had used an untouchable skill. A ball of lightning formed and floated in the air as it crackled. The 3 saw this and grew alarmed. Spellblade skill, electric wave formation. Chapter 492, Sun Jiang's dragon raising its head. In the confrontation between the 2 teams, Ocean Ahead might have been the first to make an attack, but it resulted in his own team being swept away. Lulon / Little Bei, and Nighttide were thrown into the enemy's heavenly lightning earth and fire and then knocked back out. Deception may have hit his intended target with bird fall, but it wasn't because his opponent couldn't dodge it. Rather, his opponent didn't feel the need to dodge it. Following afterwards, his opponent's rapid attacks quickly broke through Deception's own follow-up attacks. The magic chasers exploded, sending him tumbling through the air and into a wall. Ocean Ahead had been blown back by the falling flower palm. Neither him nor the cleric had yet to take damage, but they no longer had any protection from the front line. The enemy battle mage had completely exposed the backline and he posed a heavy threat to them. In this brief exchange, the other 4 enemies hadn't even arrived in front of them yet and their formation had already been destroyed. Now, an electric wave formation had been placed. The crackling electric ball was storing up energy. The spellblade was casting this spell. As soon as he finished channeling, the electric ball would expand, creating a circular sphere, where enemy players inside would take electric damage over time. The spell couldn't be dodged, whether one went into the air or underground. The only way to escape from the attack was to get out of the electric wave formation's effective range. A max-skilled electric wave formation had a radius of 15 body units. With the team in complete disarray and the enemy battle mage completely controlling the situation, it would be very difficult for them to escape this attack. At this moment, Yi Shu finally acted. He leapt into the air and his myriad manifestation umbrella opened up. Ta 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 ta. A stream of bullets shot into the heavenly lightning earth and fire. A faint curse could be heard amidst the loud thunder. The electric ball suddenly shook. Everyone's hearts tightened, but the electricity didn't burst out. Like a power outage, the electric ball blinked and dispersed. The veterans obviously knew this was because the spellblade's attack had been interrupted. The spellblade had been hiding inside the heavenly lightning earth and fire, but Lord Grimm had still been able to hit him. Meanwhile, Ocean Ahead and Thousand Falling Leaves were frantically running. They had seen how terrifying this battle mage was. This battle mage had broken through the heavenly lightning earth and fire completely unharmed. What did this mean? It meant that he had dodged the random attacks from the heavenly lightning earth and fire with inhuman reactions and hand speed. Then, he leapt into the midst of their entire team, sent 4 of them flying, and even sent Ocean Ahead a palm. Ocean Ahead and Thousand Falling Leaves had no close combat capabilities. Why would they dare to stay still and fight? But this battle mage didn't even glance at the 2 of them. He stepped forward with his spear pointing directly at Lord Grimm. With the distance between them, this spear was way too far away to hit him, but at the same time, magic waves emanated out from the spear, forming a dragon. Battle mage level 70 skill, Rising Dragon soars the sky. Yi Shu's Lord Grimm dodged to the side. Even though this rising dragon soars the sky had a long attack range, if it didn't have the proper setup for it, with such a large distance between the target, it would only be able to hit in theory. However, there was more than enough time for the target to dodge. Lord Grimm didn't seem flustered at all and leisurely headed towards the side. Who would have thought that the magically formed dragon would suddenly shake its head to the side and bite down on Lord Grimm? All of the magic waves poured into Lord Grimm and with a dazzling explosion, Lord Grimm was blasted flying away. Are you kidding me? Little Bei had just gotten up from the ground and his eyes almost popped out seeing this scene. Dragon raises its head. Not just little Bei, but everyone else recognized it too. When this rising dragon soars, the sky flew out, the dragon clearly twisted its head. It was reputed that only Yi Chu alone could perform this variation of the move, dragon raises its head. Lord Grimm was only a level 52 character and his equipment was lacking too. The damage he took certainly wouldn't be light after being hit directly by a level 70 skill. He used a quick recover and landed on the ground steadily. Who are you? Little Bei shouted. To be able to perform such a mighty dragon raises its head, could this battle mage be the real Yi Chu? Could this Lord Grimm actually be a fake? Little Bei wondered. Sun Zhang's tone was filled with arrogance. He was very satisfied with how this dragon raises its head had turned out, especially with it being able to hit Yi Chu. This was a scene he had dreamed of countless times and the dream had turned into a reality. Unfortunately, the scene took place in a random street in game. There weren't any spectators watching. If this had taken place in the all-star competition, how great would that have been? As soon as this name came out, Lulan Slash and the others immediately stood there stupidly. A god. What an amazing practice today turned out to be. After taking down the little thieves, the boss came out. Who's that? Is he good? At this moment, Deception came down from the wall and asked. Bro, seriously? Did you buy your account? Lulan Slash asked incredulously. Deception was very infamous. As players in the game, they obviously knew who he was. They had never interacted with him before though. Today, because of Yi Chu, they were fighting together as allies, but they hadn't talked to him much. However, Deception actually didn't know who Sun Zhang was, which made everyone very astonished. They wanted to doubt him, but then again, he showed the skill to back up his name. They had seen Deception's capabilities while fighting alongside him. He wasn't any weaker than them. You really don't know? Yi Chu was also surprised. Deception didn't know about him, so he probably didn't pay much attention to the news nor any drama floating around. He didn't have any friends either, so it would make sense if he didn't know about him, but to not even know the name of a god like Sun Zhang? That was strange for an expert like him. Could he actually be someone who only cared about himself and didn't care about anyone else? Why should I know? Deception asked in return. You're just pretending, Sun Zhang laughed coldly. Deception had been the only one to hit him, so his skill obviously wasn't bad. Sun Zhang doubted such an expert didn't know a god like him. How do you like the taste of my dragon raises its head? It's not bad, right? Sun Zhang ignored the pretending guy. He only had Yi Chu in his eyes. He thought he could easily succeed him, but his ghost always seemed to be haunting him. Not bad. Yi Chu seemed to be as calm as ever. Beside him though, a girl had cried out loudly. This girl was Chen Guo, of course. She wasn't happy at all about Sun Zhang's dragon raises its head. She had originally been indifferent towards Sun Zhang, but after knowing about the details about Yi Chu's release from Excellent Era, she now hated him. And now, Sun Zhang was actually able to perform dragon raises its head. Chen Guo didn't feel comfortable knowing this. How talented. You couldn't do it in the all-star competition yet, no, Yi Chu continued. You're right, but now I can do it even better than you, Sun Zhang said. After returning from the all-star competition, he had gone through intense practice and research before mastering dragon raises its head. In addition, after comparing it to Yi Chu's previous uses of the move, Sun Zhang was certain his dragon raises its head had an even greater range than Yi Chu's. So what? Yi Chu said. Sun Zhang was stumped. He had done something even Yi Chu couldn't do and felt extremely happy about it. However, Yi Chu himself didn't seem to think much of it. It was like punching cotton, not satisfactory at all. So what? Ha ha, this means you're already of the past. Did you really think your little show-off of dragon raises its head in the all-star competition would be enough to make others not forget about you? But now, you've already been completely replaced. What else can you do to prove yourself? The heavenly lightning, earth and fire faded away and 4 characters walked out. The one who replied to Yi Chu was the Spellblade, Lu Hao. Lord Grimm turned around slightly. Yi Chu glanced at them, but simply repeated himself, so what? HMPH. You're pretending. Lu Hao also choked slightly at Yi Chu's response and then used Sun Zhang's line. I really hope to see how long you'll be able to keep on lying to yourself like that, Lu Hao continued. Lu Hao's skill in provoking others was at a higher level than Sun Zhang's. He Ming, Shen Jian, Zhang Jiaxing, Yi Shu looked at the enemy's classes and guessed their identities. Lulan Slash and the others sucked in a cold breath. This was Excellent Era's main team. That Spellblade was probably Excellent Era's vice-captain, Lu Hao. This was the pro team's main roster. Their equipment was just slightly lacking. Sorry, Yi. Today, we're going to have to play as pigs and eat the tiger, He Ming said. Play as pigs and eat the tiger? Yi Shu laughed. It won't be that easy. Do you know what it means to play as pigs and eat the tiger? Yi, your actions in the 10th server can be considered as playing as a pig and eating the tiger, He Ming calmly answered. It looks like you don't understand it well enough, Yi Shu said. Oh, then, please give us a lesson, He Ming said. To play as a pig and eat the tiger has to do his part too. If a pig plays as a pig, then the pig can't even try to eat the tiger, Yi Shu said. It's just an analogy. You don't need to assign roles to it, Yi Shu smiled. Ignore him. He's good at this sort of trash talk, Lu Hao said in a low voice. He didn't care about Yi Shu's mocking. Who's the pig? Who's the tiger? We're about to find out, Sun Shang said. Are you guys really pro players? We have the absolute advantage. Do you guys actually not see that? Yi Shu said. What, let alone Excellent Era's players, even Lulan Slash's group stared stupidly at these words. We have more people, Yi Shu said. Chapter 493, Valuable Reverse Teaching. We have more people on our side. Excellent Era's side had a standard 5-player team. Yi Shu's side had a total of 7 players, which included Deception, Lord Grimm, and Lulan Slash's team. From a numbers perspective, Yi Shu's side had the advantage. However, playing Glory was never as simple as counting numbers. Having a numbers advantage didn't guarantee a victory. Just before, 7 players had easily annihilated 25 players. It would be too embarrassing to think about things in this way. Apart from Yi Shu himself, everyone else was dumbstruck by Yi Shu's words, even Chen Guo. Ha 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 ha, Sun Shang was the first to recover from the shock and let out a few loud laughs. However, his laugh seemed somewhat forced. Then, he continued, don't blame me for being too blunt, but with just these guys, what can you do? Sun Zhang's battle mage turned around in a circle and looked down at the few players around him. If this was before Lulan Slash's group had met Yi Shu, they would have certainly been furious, but after getting to know Yi Shu, in nicer words, they recognized the skill gap between them and their future opponents. In harsher words, the skill gap was far greater than they had expected. They had somewhat lost their confidence. Sun Shang was looking down on them right now, but none of them said anything in response because they recognized their inferiority. So what? Someone retorted though. Deception. After being smashed into a wall, Deception rushed forward and threw shurikens in a V formation towards Sun Zhang's battle mage. The theory was the same as the launcher's triangular formation of anti-tank missiles. Sun Shang humphed coldly. This sort of little technique wasn't anything in his eyes. This guy pretended to not know him and was now shouting back at him? He would give him a good look at reality. After seeing the 3 shurikens, he tapped his keyboard and moved his mouse. His battle mage swung his spear in a V shape. V-Sky Strike, Little Bei cried out in astonishment. This was an extremely advanced battle mage technique, which he had yet to master. After Sun Shang created a Z with his spear, the spear tip hit all 3 shurikens in an instant and knocked them on the ground. Sun Shang had clearly mastered this technique. No matter how much Little Bei detested him, he had to admit his loss here. But with his current circumstances, this technique was completely excessive. Excessive movements would expose openings. Deception wouldn't let this go. His figure shook and left behind a shadow clone. His real body instantly traveled to Sun Zhang's side and a blade slashed against his throat, the assassin skill, cut throat. In terms of speed, assassins were the king compared to the rest of the classes. However, this skill actually missed. Sun Zhang's battle mage had rolled forward, dodging the blade. Before even getting up, the spear in his hand stabbed backwards. Attacking behind oneself was possible in Glory. It wasn't difficult to do, but more importantly, the player had no vision behind him, so the player had to completely rely on his own judgment of where the opponent was positioned. Sun Xiang perfectly predicted Deception's position as if he had an eye on the back of his head. However, Deception didn't react slowly either. When the spear stabbed towards him, he suddenly disappeared. Underground tunneling technique. As soon as Deception dug into the ground, he immediately tunneled out. Just as his character broke out through the ground, Sun Zhang's battle mage leapt up high into the air and swung his spear. It was a very simple dragon tooth, but Deception had no way to dodge it. After the dragon tooth hit, Deception was stunned and could no longer move. His underground tunneling technique was interrupted and half his body was stuck underground. Sun Xiang followed up with a circle swing and threw Deception out from the earth to the side. Bang! The sound of a gunshot. Yishu's Lord Grimm shot out a stun bullet. However, Sun Xiang clearly hadn't been entirely focused on his battle with Deception. He only had one goal. Whether it was Deception or Lulan Slash, both of them were simply weeds on the side of the road, not worth looking at. Thus, he immediately knew Yishu had made an attack. It was a good opportunity to use a stun bullet. A normal player would have most likely gotten hit by the bullet mid-circle swing. However, Sun Xiang was nowhere near a normal player and this sort of opportunity wouldn't be enough. Sun Xiang forcefully cancelled his circle swing and stepped slightly to the side to dodge the bullet, but because he cancelled his circle swing, the effects wouldn't be complete. Deception was tossed out from the earth, but he wasn't slammed back into the ground. He quickly recovered and landed in a crouching position. Yishu's follow-ups arrived. After the stun bullet came anti-tank missiles. The 3 anti-tank missiles covered a huge area. However, no matter how huge of an area it covered, they were only anti-tank missiles. Against an expert like Sun Xiang, it wouldn't be enough. His battle mage leapt up like a fish and squeezed his way out from a crack between the missiles, but a grenade was already flying towards his face. Yishu had linked together 2 gunner skills. Sun Xiang swung his spear at the grenade and sent it flying away as if it were a baseball. This was absolutely terrifying. Grenades could be blocked in this manner, but they would usually explode on contact. Sun Xiang had hit it away, but it hadn't exploded, which meant the moment his spear made contact with the grenade, he decreased his strength. To be able to do this meant his microing had reached an incomprehensible degree. This guy really has some skill, even Chen Guo had to respect his skill. What's up? Tang Ru had been called over by Chen Guo to watch. After Chen Guo gave her an explanation, Tang Ru asked, "Is that necessary?" Ha 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 ha. This time, Yishu laughed out loud. His laugh wasn't as fake as Sun Zhang's. It was real laughter. Then, he continued, "You're right. It wasn't necessary at all. Too many excessive movements will leave too many openings." Really? You just seem to be watching these openings pass by then, Sun Xiang replied. Sorry, I wasn't talking to you. However, I have to express my thanks. You're extremely valuable as teaching material. Keep up the good work, Yishu honestly admitted. Sun Xiang was so furious that his face went green. Lu Hao couldn't do anything either. He really did want to tell Sun Xiang that he should just fight. For something like trash talking, a rook like him, with only 2 years under his belt, couldn't compare to an experienced veteran like Yi Chu. The grenade that Sun Xiang had sent flying exploded who knows where. Lord Grimm finally stopped shooting from far away and charged forward to clash with Sun Zhang's battle mage. Lu Hao and the others watched from the side, but didn't interfere. Lulan Slash's group didn't move either. They wouldn't interfere either, but hoped that Yishu would win. After their brief exchange with excellent Era's pros, their momentum had been completely diminished. Seeing Sun Zhang's brilliant performance, their hearts turned heavier and heavier. Collapsing Mountain. Yishu initiated with this skill. Lord Grimm leapt into the air and swung downwards. Even though it didn't do much damage as a low-leveled skill, the effects were quite impressive. The momentum from the collapsing mountain wouldn't lose to anyone else's. Sun Xiang stepped once diagonally. He was still being cautious. Collapsing mountain didn't have to attack along a straight path. Experts could use their mouse to cause their blade to turn in midair and force the path onto a diagonal path. Sun Shang negated this option with his step forward. Afterwards, he leapt out and stabbed at Lord Grimm. The jump was to dodge Collapsing Mountain's shockwave. Collapsing Mountain could also be considered a small AoE attack. Normal players would usually jump out of its range, but experts would jump over the shockwave and counterattack. Yi Shu had predicted this would happen. He had started the Collapsing Mountain very low, so he landed quickly. Before the spear came at him, he had already landed and rolled to the side, while slashing out with a sword draw. Sun Shang immediately stabbed again with his spear. 2 cold glints shot out, double stab. Dong. Sun Shang had used double stab to block the sword draw. Sword draw was an extremely quick skill. Blocking the attack in this way required exceptional judgment of the swordlight's pathing. Sun Shang had actually been able to hit it with a double stab. This wasn't something that could be done purely through quick decision-making or mechanics. It required an understanding of the opponent's attack speed too. You've done your research, Yi Shu grinned. Sun Shang must have studied his recordings. Unfortunately, it's an unnecessary activity. You're still good teaching material, Yi Shu lamented. He wasn't in the pro scene anymore, so he had no competitive relationship with Sun Shang. If Sun Zhang's efforts in research him weren't superfluous, then what were they? Shut up, Sun Shang continued with his arrogance and followed up with an attack. Yi Shu had started with a Collapsing Mountain and then a sword draw. Sun Zhang's double stab attacked twice. The first stab blocked the sword draw. The second stab was still an attack and it instantly became a priority move. The ground. At this moment, Lu Hao suddenly shouted. Sun Shang heard the warning and was just about to retreat, when he saw countless streams of water swarm around him. His retreat path had been cut off by the water streams too. He had unexpectedly been captured by the ninja's 100 streams. Despicable, Sun Shang was furious. Even though the attack hadn't hurt him, being sneak attacked like this wasn't something he could bear. You aren't the only one playing Glory. How many times have I told you guys this? It looks like you guys still don't understand. It looks like I have no choice. Even though I'm no longer your captain, I'll give you guys a lesson for free. You people over there, where'd your spirit go? This isn't an arena competition. This is a team competition, Yi Shu shouted. The latter words were for Lulan/'s group to hear. Chapter 494, Sneak Attack Cover-Up. As Lulan/ listened to Yi Shu, he couldn't help but be doubtful. Even though he had heard the battle of words between Yi Shu and Sun Shang, he would soon be joining the pro scene, so he had a certain understanding of the meaning of these words. These words could be considered as a type of psychological battle. As a result, trash talk usually wasn't treated as truth. However, Yi Shu's tone of voice sounded as if it really was the truth. Did he really think they could beat an actual pro team with just themselves? Even though Excellent Era didn't have a good record this season, a lean camel was still bigger than a horse. No pro team dared to think that Excellent Era would be a free win. Now, a god and the previous captain of Excellent Era said these words. Ha 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 ha, really? Bang 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 bang. The sounds of repeated gunfire. Lu Hao also wanted to say a few words, but how could he know Yi Shu would just immediately start firing after speaking? Lu Hao couldn't just stand there talking, while taking bullets. Yi Shu didn't stop there. Lord Grimm held the myriad manifestation umbrella in a straight line and continued to shoot. The myriad manifestation umbrella's gun form was a rifle. In Glory, rifles were an automatic and their fire rate couldn't even be compared to handguns. Every wave only consisted of 2 bullets, but each bullet had a more range and a stronger force than handguns. Just like this, Lord Grimm's repeated firing forced Lu Hao to swallow what he was about to say. Everyone stared dumbly at the scene. A moment later, someone said, "So we're starting?" "Hurry up and get me out of here," Sun Shang impatiently shouted. No matter how much of a god he was, it wasn't like he could break the game's rules. The water prison created by 100 streams couldn't be broken from the inside. Excellent Era's side responded. He Ming's elementalist lifted up his staff, when Lord Grimm suddenly switched targets from Lu Hao's spellblade to him. He Ming was also a pro player, so he saw it and immediately dodged the bullet. However, his channeling had been interrupted. Lu Hao wasn't a weakling either though. Seeing an opening appear, he raised his sword as fire began to swirl around his body. Spellblade skill, Firewave Sword. There were 4 elements in glory: fire, ice, light, and dark. Battle Mage Chasers, Elementalist Spells, Ghostblade Formations, Spellblade Wave Swords, and Wave Formations were all elemental skills. Apart from these, some skills were non-elemental. Elemental skills had an extra effect to them compared to non-elemental skills. By using equipment and other skills, the elemental damage could be increased. However, at the same time, there was also equipment with elemental resistance. Thus, elemental skills aren't necessarily better than non-elemental skills. It depended on the circumstance. The 4 elements were also connected. Fire and ice were a pair. Light and dark were the other. Opposing elements did additional damage. Similar elements did decreased damage. For example, fire versus ice or ice versus fire would do increased damage to each other. Fire versus fire or ice versus ice did less damage to each other. The actual numbers depends on the elemental buffs and resistances between the 2 opposing sides. Lu Hao's Firewave Sword was a high damage skill. The fire spiraled towards the water prison. Even though the water prison was made of water, it was still categorized as an ice elemental skill. As a result, the fire attack would do increased damage to it. This attack wouldn't be enough to instantly destroy the water prison, but Lu Hao followed the attack with another wave sword. Excellent Era's other 2 players weren't just standing by idly. Shen Jian's striker had no long-ranged capabilities, so he charged forward towards deception. As for Zhang Jiaxin, his cleric was a support class. The battle had just begun though, so his team hadn't taken much damage yet. His opponents didn't have any buffs on them either, so there was no point trying to dispel them. He would be useless and alone for now. As for Yishu's side, as soon as their cleric Falling Thousand Leaves saw the battle start, she also began to get busy despite being unconfident in herself. Her side had people with tons of injuries. Yishu's Lord Grim had just eaten a full rising dragon soars the sky not long before and had lost a large chunk of his health. What are you all waiting for? When you begin a pro match and you see the enemy coming, you're not just going to stand there, are you? Yishu saw that his words didn't seem to have much of an effect on them and gave them a scolding. This time, Lulan Slash and the others finally woke up and felt ashamed at how little confidence they had. They might not be able to compete with their opponents, but they couldn't lose their spirit because of this. How would they be able to survive in the pro scene with such weak mentality? Heavenly Lightning, Yishu began to lead the team. Where, Ocean Ahead was a bit slow. This was a common issue in new teams. If the leader's calls couldn't be understood quickly and had to be explained in detail, then the opportunity might be lost. When someone joined a team, people would talk about adjusting to the team. What did they mean by adjusting? Solving this issue. Yishu was currently an outsider in Lulan Slash's team, but his words held power. Right now, he was the team's shot caller. It was easy to bully weaker opponents because the calls were simple and easy to understand. However, in a high-level battle with skilled opponents who had more practiced tactics, Ocean Ahead clearly didn't know the purpose of using Heavenly Lightning Earth and Blaze. He had finished casting it, but he didn't know where to throw it towards. Wherever there's people, Yishu didn't have time to say too much. It didn't take much to say it, but the battle was constantly shifting. This wasn't a single-player game where he could press pause and explain. With these words, Ocean Ahead threw out his Heavenly Lightning towards a location with many enemies. At the same time, Yishu reflected on his shot calling. He couldn't be too blunt and direct with them. If you were able to control your Heavenly Lightning Earth and Blaze, you would be able to maintain that water prison for a while longer, Yishu said and gave Ocean Ahead a pointer. The Heavenly Lightning Earth and Blaze enveloped the water prison. Lu Hao had to dodge the attacks from the spell, so he couldn't attack the water prison directly. However, the lightning and fire from the spell hit the water prison and assisted in breaking it. The water prison could be broken by anyone's attacks, even those on the same team as the caster. As soon as Sunshang broke free from the prison, his first thought was to find deception, but under the cover of the Heavenly Lightning, he wasn't able to see everything clearly. Sunshang decided to exit the range of the Heavenly Lightning first. He quickly reacted to the lightning and fire to dodge them. Right when he was about to break out of the area, a ray of light suddenly flashed in front of him. The light definitely wasn't an effect of the heavenly lightning earthen blaze. Lulan/'s berserker was guarding this spot. This ray of light wasn't actually a ray of light, but a bloody mist. It was the berserker skill, Crimson Storm. At this moment, the move had reached its peak. The huge bloodblade was already just about to cut apart Sun Jiang's battle mage. No matter how fast Sun Xiang was, he wouldn't be able to break through it, so he hastily rolled back. Because of this, he wasn't able to break out from the heavenly lightning and even took a few hits. However, the damage from it was much negligible compared to how much he would have taken if the Crimson Storm had hit him. The bloodblade crashed towards the ground and burst apart, mixing together with the heavenly lightning earthen blaze. Sun Xiang didn't care about this though. He had just dodged the bloodblade, when he saw a cold light fly towards him and felt a sense of imminent danger. Sun Xiang was more than familiar with this effect. This was the battle mage skill, Dragon Breaks the Ranks. The skill had actually been waiting for him to come. Dragon Breaks the Ranks shot forward in a straight line. Battle mages were a class with both physical and magic skills at their disposal. Although this skill didn't do any magic damage, it had a magic effect. The shining light at the tip of the spear expanded into a wide circle, similar to how falling flower palm hit opponents near the palm as well. It was too late to dodge. Dragon Breaks the Ranks attacked all around, and with this distance, there was nowhere to run to. At this moment, Sun Jiang's battle mage hastily raised up his spear too. Someone with good eyes could tell amidst the blurry surroundings from the heavenly lightning that the tip of his spear began to emit a faint light. However, the light instantly disappeared because Little Bei's Dragon Breaks the Ranks had arrived and enveloped the area. Boom! The sound of a huge explosion. Little Bei thought his Dragon Breaks the Ranks had hit the opponent, but he discovered that he was the one flying backwards. How is that possible? Little Bei was astonished. For him to have been hit flying away, what had his opponent done? Little Bei adjusted his view and soon saw that Sun Jiang's battle mage was also flying away in the other direction. Even his posture was the same as his. This was. Little Bei instantly understood. In that instant, Sun Xiang had also completed a Dragon Breaks the Ranks. The two sides had both used the same skill, so the results were the same. Incredible. Little Bei respected the play. He conceded that he didn't have the skill to complete such a move in that situation. With this, Sun Xiang still took damage, but he didn't let Little Bei get free damage off. How unfortunate, Yi Shu said. If your coordination had been slightly tighter, he wouldn't have had the opportunity to do that. Not only was Sun Xiang unable to break out of the heavenly lightning earthen blaze, he had even taken damage and had been pushed back. These chains of attacks were a result of Yi Shu's commands. Heavenly Lightning Earthen Blaze wasn't a damage skill at this moment. It was a cover. By utilizing it to obstruct the opponent's view, they were able to successfully inflict heavy damage onto Sun Xiang. And the ones to do it were Lulan/ and Little Bei, two players that Sun Xiang had considered weeds on the side of the road. Chapter 495, Ambush. The attacks from the heavenly lightning earthen blaze weren't endless and finally ended at this moment. In glory, visual effects caused by skills hitting the terrain could be seen. The small street was filled with fresh holes. This was the third time the skill heavenly lightning earthen blaze had been used in this fight. The place looked similar to the aftermath of a war zone, especially since the third heavenly lightning had been activated where the second heavenly lightning had been. Sun Jiang's battle mage was crouching down in this charred landscape. Although his in-game character didn't show any expression, Sun Xiang was sitting in front of his computer pale-faced. Not only did his attempt to rush out of the heavenly lighting fail, he was also forced into a difficult situation by his opponents. In that previous confrontation, the only damage received by Little Bei was from his Dragon Breaks the Ranks and nothing else. Sun Xiang wasn't so fortunate. He was unable to avoid the damage from the heavenly lightning as he was sent flying. One could tell that Sun Jiang's character had taken damage just by looking at the smoke emitting from his equipment. Zhang Jiaxing now had something to do as he quickly healed Sun Xiang. The heavenly lightning had crashed down right when Shen Jian's striker went after deception. He had to constantly dodge the attacks from the heavenly lightning. At the same time, his line of sight had been blocked. All he could see was a vague silhouette of deception. Before he could get into range, a bolt of lightning cut through the silhouette, making him realize that something wasn't right. The effects from heavenly lightning stopped and Deception was still standing in his team's formation without harm. The silhouette struck by the heavenly lightning had been his shadow clone. No decisive conclusion could be made from this exchange. However, from the looks of the situation, Yishu's team held the upper hand. The morale of Lulan Slash and Little Bei were especially high after forcing Sun Shang to back off. In their eyes, if they chased after their opponents, they would take the victory, but before they could act, Lord Grimm typed, "Retreat." "We're running?" Lulan Slash hesitated. "We're not running, it's a tactical retreat." As he typed, Yishu had Lord Grimm retreat. The other 6 followed suit. Trying to run, Sun Shang was stomping his feet in impatience and wanted to chase after the group. Lu Hao wanted to warn Sun Shang, but he held himself back. Their young captain wasn't someone who listened to others' advices. If Sun Shang made a decision, Lu Hao doubted he would be able to dissuade him and might even annoy him. Thus, Lu Hao refrained from restraining Sun Shang. "Everyone, be careful." Lu Hao chose not to address Sun Shang directly, and used the more general term of everyone instead. Deep in his heart, he knew that Yishu had not shown his true capabilities. If the others were from Heavenly Justice, then the hidden experts from the Cyber Cafe might be with them too. With their sudden retreat, Lu Hao was reminded of the possibility of an ambush ahead. "We have more people on our side." Yishu's words reverberated deep in Lu Hao's mind. He doubted that Yichu would be dumb enough to think that just those 7 would be enough of an advantage to beat them. Now that he was thinking about it, could there have been a hidden meaning in his words? What if the experts following Yichu logged into the game undetected and came over as reinforcements? Lu Hao didn't dare to irritate Sun Shang, but he warned Himing and Shen Jian in private. Those 2 were in the same boat as him. There weren't any secrets between them. They clearly remembered what happened before and understood the situation immediately. They surrounded Sun Shang to protect him from any ambush aimed against him. Sun Shang didn't pay attention to any of this as he continued to chase at full speed. These little weeds had made him suffer losses time after time. He was going to turn each and every one of those weeds into ashes. Into the building. The 7 of them rushed out from the streets. With the movement buff from the neutral chasers, Sun Shang was rapidly closing the gap between them with incredible speed. Lu Hao was starting to get worried. They couldn't keep up with Sun Shang. He would be the first to arrive at the intersection, which would be the perfect spot for an ambush. "Watch out for any ambushes," shouted Lu Hao. At this point, he didn't care about annoying Sun Shang. "HMPH," Sun Shang responded coldly. As Lu Hao expected, Sun Shang paid no heed to him at all. Himing, desperate, Lu Hao turned to Himing for help. "Got it." Himing nodded his head and used the elementalist's teleportation to catch up. Teleportation was an elementalist's lifesaver, but at this moment, he was using it to protect Sun Zhang's life. Ice wall. Himing rushed forward and threw a spell at the intersection to his right just in case of an ambush. The spell would serve as a buffer against potential enemies to buy time for Sun Shang to react. "What are you doing?" Sun Shang was puzzled by Himing's action. "Be careful. They may have set up an ambush." Himing didn't dare to be careless. He focused his attention on the street to the left, ready to release spells at any time. What ambush? Sun Zhang's battle mage had already moved past the intersection. There hadn't been anyone around. Their 7 opponents hadn't made any turns either and headed straight for a building at the intersection. The ambush is in that room. Lu Hao felt uneasy. He didn't care about anything else and shouted, "Wait." But Sun Shang totally ignored his warning and made a beeline for the entrance. Sun Shang was prepared though when he entered the room and swung his spear around. Himing's elementalist turned around and shrugged at his 3 teammates as he entered the building. Lu Hao was filled with anger at this point. In Sun Zhang's eyes, Lulan Slash and his team weren't the only weeds. Lu Hao and the other pros were also included in this group of weeds. The pain of having to babysit somebody as proud and arrogant as Sun Shang gnawed at Lu Hao. He even secretly hoped that Sun Shang would be burnt to ashes. In the end, nothing happened. Sun Zhang's battle mage swung his battle lance freely and entered the room. They watched from the outside, but didn't see any battles taking place. They've all run away. What the F***ck are you guys waiting for? Sun Shang shouted with rage, extremely dissatisfied about the fact that Lu Hao told him to wait earlier on. Lu Hao responded absent-mindedly, they ran away? At this moment, He Ming entered the building and noticed a window on the wall. The house was already empty. Sun Shang had jumped straight out through the window. He Ming, follow him. Lu Hao felt puzzled at the situation. He didn't know whether or not their opponents had actually run off, and he wasn't yet in position to confirm it. However, with Sun Shang focused on chasing after the enemies, the distance between him and their team was growing farther apart. Even if the enemies hadn't actually run off, if this continued, it would be the same as if they had. Alone, Sun Shang could easily be picked off by Yi Chu and his team. After all, those guys weren't bad players. They really weren't like those weeds that could be found all over the game. At this moment, He Ming was crouching beside the window. He spotted Sun Zhang's battle mage chasing after a person and then disappearing after making a turn. He Ming, of course, shared the same dissatisfaction and worries as Lu Hao. Just as he was about to follow after him out the window, he saw the earth beneath the window rise and a silhouette burst out. **T. He Ming cursed. A mage in midair could only do so much. He couldn't avoid it. The only possible skill that could be used in this situation, teleportation, had been cast moments before and was still on cooldown. The silhouette that appeared, of course, was deception. He broke through the ground with the underground tunneling technique. He Ming, with half of his body outside the window, was pushed into the window frame. Deception landed, strapped a noose around the neck of He Ming's elementalist, and dragged him out with a body bind technique. He Ming, knowing that he had been tricked, knew that the enemy's attack would not stop there. He requested for help immediately. At the same time, he saw several silhouettes descend from the rooftop and attack him. An earth-shattering slash from the berserker sent him up into the air. Right when he was about to use a quick recover, the grappler wrapped his legs around his neck, and dropped onto the ground after spinning in midair, slamming He Ming into the ground. 3 shots followed right after, along with a pillar of flame. All of these attacks were directed at He Ming, who was on the ground. He Ming immediately understood. After going through the window, only one of the opposing members ran towards the intersection while the ninja dug into the ground under the window with his underground tunneling technique, and the rest jumped onto the rooftop. Sun Shang would be the first to arrive. The opposition could tell judging by how fast he was moving compared to the rest. He Ming would be the second because he had cast teleportation to catch up. The enemy drew Sun Shang away and then acted against the second target. He Ming was an elementalist, so he didn't have much health. Add to the fact that he was using an open account, his equipment was no different than the ones used by common guild members. Yi Shu and his team could defeat guild members within moments. His elementalist would be killed quickly as well. He Ming attempted to struggle, but as Yi Shu's Lord Grim landed blow after blow on him, He Ming knew that he would die here. Lord Grim's level wasn't high, but in this situation, damage wasn't necessary. It was already enough just by attacking him. A surrounded elementalist trying to escape without teleportation didn't abide to the rules of glory. With his teleportation on cooldown, He Ming could only wait for reinforcements. The moment he heard Lu Hao's voice, his heart was filled with joy. He still had some hit points left, and if his teammates got there in time. Heavenly lightning. At the same time, he heard another voice. Heavenly Lighting Earthen Blaze, the most popular spell in today's battle, was cast for the 4th time, and it was placed in the room through the window. With the lighting and flames, the interior of the house erupted in chaos. The position of the window could no longer be found. Heading to the window would probably be slower than going over the rooftop.